Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Hotelier Talks. Today, I welcome Skander Gasmi, Digital Transformation Manager at HappyCulture. Hello, Skander, and nice to have you on the show.
Hi, Thibault. Thanks a lot for having me. I'm looking forward to our talk.
Great. Then let's jump right in. Before we get started, can you maybe tell us a bit more about yourself and your career, as well about as HappyCulture and what makes it special?
Sure. So as mentioned, my name is Skander. I am based in Paris. That's where HappyCulture as a brand and Honotel as a group, the owner of the brand HappyCulture, are based. I'm in charge of the digital strategy of the company. Basically, the data strategy is what tools do we use, how do we exploit them, how do they fit into our customer journeys, how do they fit into our operations, how do they fit into our management and the management of a property on a larger scale. How did I end up here? I'm not really quite certain. I believe it was an appetite for digital tools, for optimization, for improvement, which got me to my current position. It's quite an exciting time to be doing what I do right now, especially after COVID, as hoteliers finally realize the importance of optimizing operations, of optimizing customer journeys, of offering better products through technology.
Cool. Thanks for this intro. And so can you tell us a bit more about the role of technology at HappyCulture and what role does it play in the overall company philosophy and strategy?
Technology, technology is at the heart of what we do at HappyCulture. It is a binding point of many aspects of our job in managing and running hotels. It's at the heart of the technology because we can use it for the present. We can envision the future through technology, but also through humans and through our hotels. But technology is one of the factors through which we envision the future. In the present, it basically improves our operations. Improving our operations sometimes through very, very simple tasks whereby we don't need to communicate between each other to get the information we need. Improving our operations through automations, through reducing time spent behind screens, checking and double checking data for our teams. It improves customer relationship due to the fact that people are no longer spending time behind their screen. They can actually focus on what the client wants. Of course, it can help us extract more data and ask the client to help us tailor their stay, tailored exactly to their needs. And it can ultimately boost the way we run hotels because the customer journey is improved, the operations are improved, ultimately our margins are improved, and overall we see it as a very positive investment, and it's not something that will change in the near future, at least.
Perfect. And so if we dive in a bit into what have been the projects in the past couple of years. 3 years ago, you guys took the decision of switching your PMS throughout your 38, 35 properties, if I'm not mistaken. What was the biggest trigger to that change, and how did you approach it?
3 years ago was 2018. I believe the digital transformation, or perhaps the digital philosophy of doing things, began around 2014, 2015 for Honotel, where the group basically realized that it was no longer feasible for their employees to be swapping data from one platform to the other, to be loading data somewhere, for their data flows to have errors, and that's what happened back in 2014. I wasn't here yet. They basically started plugging in software to help them manage their revenue management, to help them manage their e-reputation, to help them manage their communication between the different properties and the managers, and I mean the operators. There was, however, a switch around 2017, whereby tools were available for everyone, a lot of them, and where HappyCulture basically realized that it was too much. They were they were aided by consulting agencies such as EY, for instance, where they realized that they basically had all the necessary technology. It wasn't communicating properly. And it was going to be a nightmare to basically get all of that together and to improve the speed at which people access information and send out information, basically. There was a turning point. And the biggest trigger was basically the inability to extract data, use it, send it back in an easy manner. And that's where the group basically decided to look at everything they had in their tech stack, the entire scope, and not shy away from basically saying, all right, we are getting rid of this, we're going back from scratch. It's the best way to improve it. And these are the fundamentals today, whereby we don't hesitate. We have no issue in admitting that a technology is not good, getting rid of it and replacing it with a new one. That's more or less what led us to where we are today.
Okay, great. And I'll just kind of still stay on that question. Mm-hmm. How did you approach it? Did you kind of say, okay, we'll start with the PMS and drill down to other areas of the software stack, or was it more kind of a general and holistic approach?
All right. So the trigger was basically realizing that technology, if it's not implemented correctly, if it's not set up correctly, if it's not used according to the property standards and to the SOPs of the company, can actually be a burden and a hassle for the employee, whereby they spend more time actually understanding it and going through it than using it efficiently. The way we went about this is that back in 2017, we worked on a mission alongside EY, the consulting agency, whereby we laid out the way we envisioned the future, which basically helped us understand what were the first missions to tackle, the second, the third, and so on and so forth. Obviously, like any hotelier, the cornerstone of your data flow is your PMS system, and that's exactly where we went in first. It was probably the biggest investment in terms of time, in terms of resources, but also the most important one, as it is literally the cornerstone of any tech stack in the hospitality industry.
Cool, thanks. And so if we look at the way the transition happened, a lot of hoteliers are a bit afraid of change management. You can have the best tools as you want and all that, but how did you actually manage the transition, the day where you guys went from the past to the future? How did that transition happen, and what would you do differently looking back, as with COVID, hoteliers maybe had time to close and restart, but your change happened during a full-on operation. How did you guys go about it?
What were the challenges in the transition? I think the biggest challenge, and it wasn't my challenge, but the biggest challenge is to basically admit to yourself that, all right, it's time to move on, to let go and to put in something new, because it's an accumulation of small frustrations throughout your daily operations, which basically compound into an enormous amount of time and an enormous waste of data and insights that you could be getting. What we had underestimated, perhaps in the first, at least in the first phase of the transition, in the beginning, we had underestimated the agenda. We thought we'd be moving much faster than we currently did than we actually did at first. We probably also underestimated the human aspect of things, whereby training on the spot is a solution, but it's a very short-term solution. And we needed to find a way to basically continue training people, constantly improving their experience, constantly improving their skills, without basically having to be present, and being there in person. And so what would we do differently, or what did we do differently actually, after noticing these challenges? It's basically in terms of transition of agenda. We would anticipate much more. All right, what needs to be done in order for the transition to happen smoothly? What are the basic principles? What is the most crucial information? What is the necessary information for the transition to be easy? What we also did is, for the people at the property level, is to basically remove all aspects of which could impact the transition. To give you small examples, no one working the property would have to basically go and input the reservations into the new system, or get whatever financial information there is from the old system and put it in this new system. The transition would be solely focused on using the product, using it efficiently within your operations. And we clearly saw a difference between transitioning hotels in 2019 and transitioning hotels in 2020, beginning of the year, because prior to COVID, we were still rolling out our digital platform, whereby through anticipation, through organization, and through perhaps a changed way of training people, we were able to onboard the hotel every week. We actually got, prior to COVID and during COVID in some cases, we rolled out 20 properties in 20 weeks.
Wow.
And that's where we noticed that, yeah, all right, we actually learned from the 4 or 5 first properties, and we see that the 10 following properties were actually at a higher rate, and these, I mean, were at the optimum rate, because you can't also do it too quickly. I mean, people need some time to adapt. What would we do differently? Looking back, I want to say start earlier. I want to say start earlier simply because it would be, I mean, today we are actually enjoying the advantages of our tech stack. I won't hide it. We are able to very quickly action whatever it is that we may need in terms of operations or customer journey, asking questions to the customer, tailoring the questions to a property or to a new package we're selling. So these things can happen very quickly. However, I believe that perhaps our tech stack would be a year or two more advanced, and we'd actually be enjoying it even more. So yeah, if we had to do it differently, we'd just start earlier.
Great, cool. And we quickly kind of mentioned the way you went about building your tech stack, but maybe you can still go a bit more in detail on that, and about the positive or the most positive impacts it's had on operations, on, let's say, maybe your e-reputation, your ADR and things like that. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about that.
Sure. Yes, I did mention our tech stack, what I like to call platform rather than tech stack, simply because the term is more adapted as a collaborative item and tool. The tools we use are partially off the shelf, as people would say. So they are, I mean, available to all and every hotelier. Some of them are even ranked #1 in Hotel Heroes category, or PMS category. And I mean, the most positive impacts of these changes we've been noticing is, firstly, we are more digital, but our customer experience is not impacted. Our service is not impacted. We even believe it's been improved, whereby throughout all of our properties, we have an average of 9 out of 10 in terms of service. And so one of the first positive impacts is a lot of people are thinking, oh yeah, but if I put more software, if I try to get more guests to check in online, to check out online, to look at their bill online, or to order a breakfast online, then I'm going to lose the hospitality side of things. And finally, the hospitality side of things is just getting the experience right when the guest is in front of you. And today it's more and more getting the experience right when the guest is away. And the only way to get it right is through digital tools. And so this is also one of the impacts we're noticing. What we're also noticing is the speed at which we get data up to decision makers. We are talking about it takes less than we're talking in terms of minutes. That's how frequent our refreshes and our data inflows are. I'm saying this because basically a lot of people are still looking at their data at the end of the day or on a weekly basis and seeing what happened. I believe it's too slow. It's perhaps a bit complicated to react if you are getting your data that late. It's what we call dead data. And so one of the most positive impacts, and perhaps an impact on our ADR and our RevPAR and our commercial performance, is basically handing the information to everyone quickly and through the means that is most adapted to them. So some people would be getting reports, automated reports via email. Others would access their dashboards as they wish on their laptop. Others can actually use our mobile platform to basically look at where is their hotel today, how many rooms are clean, how many checkouts have been made, what was the pickup since midnight tonight. And so perhaps to answer the first question, how does our tech stack look like? Our tech stack is a hybrid model between very robust, very good public software out there and what we call, at least, the last mile technology, is that we come and connect the final dots. We come and connect the most time gaining dots out there. And we are able to do that solely because we are hoteliers and we are not tech guys. Should we be tech guys, we'd be thinking in terms of system efficiencies and having as possible as features as we can, whereby we are thinking, how do we remove this feature and make it unnecessary and obsolete, because we know that people don't need that much.
Yep.
So that's more or less what our tech stack looks like. It's a mix of both, and that's how we see it. Again, if we were to build everything from scratch, then I believe we wouldn't succeed as a company. And if we were to leave it all to the hands of products which have their specs and which have their configurations, then we basically end up in the scenario I was describing earlier, whereby we have a tech stack which has over 20 solutions, and people are actually losing time rather than gaining time, and they end up not believing in it and not trusting it.
For sure. And so I'm going to ask a quite rhetoric question, but there's a whole debate in the industry about, should hotel companies be, tech teams and have in-house developments? Your answer to that is yes, at least on the, like you called it, the last mile kind of tweaks. Definitely. to adapt to your, let's say, specific characteristics.
Definitely. I mean, technology is today the power engine. It's basically our seamless factory. And so you have to have engineers internally which know how to operate and run your factory. You just don't have to build all the machinery. It's unnecessary.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. And so you told me that you spent some part of the last year working on accessibility. You can't tell us too much today, but still, do you have maybe some things to advise to hotels approaching that topic? What was the trigger to implement that? And would you say that it's kind of a must-have today in, let's say, a post-COVID era?
So your question is composed of 3 questions, actually. I've been working on accessibility, what we call accessibility in English. Mind you that in French, it's accessibility is a whole different story. Sure. But yeah, basically guest access. Such an exciting topic, such a broad topic, so many technologies available out there. So many forward-looking technologies which are already obsolete out there. What is my first tip to give out to hoteliers looking at this? Don't buy a technology you wouldn't use. put yourself in the shoes of the customer, and ask yourself, would I do this or not? I'll hand out very simple examples. If the hotel lock runs through Bluetooth and can only be enabled through a web app, well, again, think again about it, simply because would you download an app for a 2-day stay in a property? So these basic things. So basically put yourself in the shoes of your customer, ask people close by, would they use this prior to investing? My second tip, or basically my second opinion, is how to approach this topic in a post-COVID era. Of course, we want to go as touchless as possible with the guests in order to improve their security and in order to improve our staff's security. So definitely, it's a hot topic for us, and it's something we're very, very actively working on. However, you could also demystify it and simplify it. If you've got the guest information ahead, if the guest is checked in, if you've got a valid credit card and all the necessary information, then basically all you need to hand out is a key. Now your teams have got a lot more time, and perhaps you can custom make that key handout experience and make it as sanitized or as COVID friendly as possible. So my tip is, don't rush. It's gonna be a must. In order for you to run a property with connected doors, you really have to have that back end, which allows you to run such. So it's a topic you have to keep an eye on. You don't necessarily need to rush.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, and to kind of finalize our discussion, Honotel or HappyCulture or yourself just launched what you guys call the digital franchise model, which essentially is an all-in-one best-of-breed software package for hotels around the world. Can you tell us a bit more about that, and who's it for, what types of properties, what geographies, and so on?
All right, yeah, sure. Sure. Throughout the interview, I was mentioning the term platform because basically, as explained earlier, the hybrid tech stack between off-the-shelf products and in-house developments led us to building a all-in-one management platform. So why did we do this? Everything we've built for our hotels, we believe can be useful, or at least for a portion of hoteliers out there. Digital tools allow us to basically share knowledge and share expertise in a very different way that we would prior to the cloud products and the very, very connected society we live in. And we believe it's got a lot of value for others to be able to pick and choose the expertise they require very efficiently, very quickly. And so all of this expertise we've gained, all of this tech we're building, we want to basically apply the principles, I'm very careful with my word, the principles of open source. We cannot, obviously, open source the technology as it has an underlying set of software and cost to run. But in the principle, we want to basically have an open source platform whereby hotels have a one-stop shop, an all-in-one solution, which is composed of operational tools, PMS systems, housekeeping systems, business monitoring systems, distribution tools, channel managers, booking engines, GDSs, reporting, RMS tools, guest journey tools, checking out online communication modules, and we're working on a lot of exciting things, and the advantage it has for them, it removes two frustrations. The first one is hoteliers are used to, whenever they face a digital problem, having to alert or talk to multiple solutions, because it's very hard to tell where does the problem come from. That is truly a nightmare for them, and for as it used to be for us. So this is one person, one communication, one entity. You've got a customer success manager who is here to solve all of your problems, because they know your tech stack, because they know what you're using, because they know the tech stack in general. So they're able to basically tell you what to do much more efficiently, much more quickly. And let's face it, we are in an era of what the French call dématérialisation, so dematerializing everything, and this goes from a multiple bills to pay to a one single monthly bill for your entire property. Who's it for? Very simple question. It's for hoteliers which are thinking about the future of their property. It's for hoteliers which want to look ahead at 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead, and want their property to be able to adapt to a new clientele, to be able to adapt to their existing clientele. Mind you that people before used to say, yes, but we have a big portion of our clientele which is in the elderly section, and digital experiences are not for them. Sure, that was prior to everyone being on Uber Eats and Uber and Deliveroo. I think one of COVID's biggest changes. It's not that it's that a broader spectrum of people are now using technology on a daily basis, and what was perceived before as inadapted to a certain clientele will today be perceived by that same clientele as inadapted to them.
Yep.
And so who is it for? It's basically hoteliers in France. In Europe, we are a English speaking company. We also have some Spanish team members, and we are looking to have more languages within our team. So European properties abroad also. I mean, our tech stack today runs on and the underlying tools of our tech stack run on over 60 territories worldwide. So that just gives you an idea of how far we can go and the needs we can answer. We've been discussing problematics with hoteliers in Costa Rica. We've been discussing with hoteliers in Spain, in Belgium, and the problems are quite common finally. And so it's more or less for every hotelier that wants to have a flexible solution, which is oriented towards their operations today, tomorrow, and perhaps in 5 years.
Perfect, Skander. That's a nice ending word. Well, it was a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time. And yeah, to all hoteliers out there looking to make a change. Well,
I mean, they should just get in touch. Skander Gasmi, they can reach me through LinkedIn. They can come on our website, HappyCulture.com. I've got a new section which is going directly into our B2B section, to our franchise. I don't like the word franchise, but to our digital platform section. So yes, don't hesitate to get in touch.
Perfect. Well, have a great day, Skander, and talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot for having me, Thibault. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.